Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Narc Free Formula. My name's Freedom. Thank you for joining me. I wanted to just quickly knock out another episode tonight about whether or not the narcissist misses you when you go no contact. This is a question that normally comes up when people are in the kind of early stages of breaking up with a narcissist. Anyone who's kind of been separated for longer than say 12, we already know the answer to this particular question. However, the short answer is no. The narcissist doesn't miss you. What they miss is your fuel. So they miss the supply, you as a supply source. So basically, to understand narcissists, what you need to imagine is this. Narcissists are almost like a black hole. They are just a pit of emptiness. And they need to fill themselves with fuel, which they extract from human beings like you and I. They get fuel in different ways, but predominantly it is from being admired, looked up to, being adored, being seen as being, the man, the big man. They like it when, for example, when people notice their car or the woman, on their arm. They get fuel from that. So anything that basically makes another human being, I shouldn't even say another human being, because the jury is actually out on whether or not narcissists and sociopaths are actually humans. They may be interspecies. So let's just say, what I meant to say was, when a human being looks at them, like I said, with adoration, looks up to them, admires them, has respect for them, thinks well of them, is jealous of them, wants to be them, that is what gives a narcissist fuel. So if you were the primary supply, which most of you probably were, which means you were probably grade A supply, you were probably kept around for a while. There's the cycle. If you don't know, there's the idealization phase, the devaluation phase, and the discard phase of a relationship. All narc relationships run this cycle. However, some can run the same cycle over and over again for years, because finding grade A supply is not that easy. So it doesn't mean that a narcissist treasures you or values you or even thinks highly of you. It just means that they can't find someone to replace you. So they can't find someone who's going to put up with their bullshit and still give them love eyes, and want to give them blowjobs or look up to them and, still treat them like they're the man, right? That kind of thing, that's hard to find. So they will keep you around. I mean, my soon-to-be ex-husband and I did, 15 years worth of rounds, that did the same cycle though, but that's just because it's not easy to replace grade A supply. It doesn't mean, however, like I said, he has no love for me. No narcissist has any love for anyone but themselves. Or he's a psychopath, but, the general gist is they don't love. But they do miss your fuel when you're not around. So they may have to get, a couple of fuel sources. I've noticed, for example, with my next, he, although he's got new supply, he also seems to be reaching out to family members and his ex-partner and a whole lot of other people, to get supply from them as well. So obviously his supply source, although he's got one, isn't the same kind of quality that he was used to. or, you know, level of energy or whatever that he was used to. Poor him, wham. So they don't miss you. In fact, I'll go so far as to say that the way they're probably feeling about you right now is if you've gone no contact with them, they're probably raging. They're probably really, really angry with you, because when you leave them, it creates a narc injury. It damages them. It wounds them. Because you're basically saying, you know, I can make it on my own. I don't need you. And that, to someone who relies so heavily on other people to validate their existence, you saying that kind of, you know, that impacts on how they feel about themselves to the very core. I mean, it's almost like they disappear. Like if no one cared about them, if everyone just turned their back on the narcissist, the narcissist kind of goes through almost like a soul death. Not that I don't think they have souls, but, you know, they kind of go through this existential kind of crisis, you know, of whether or not they actually exist or not. So do not think that they are pining like you may be pining. They are not grieving like you are maybe grieving. They are not going through the normal kind of process of separation or breakups or whatever. They may pretend at some point. So they may, you know, try and hoover you occasionally, you know, and they might, there's a whole kind of host of ways that, you know, that narcissists hoover, and different tools that they used. But the thing is that usually they will then try and pretend to you. So when they're hoovering, they will try and pretend to you that they feel like you feel. You know, and this is a classic example. So my ex sent me a love song. It was Kalechi's Drug of Choice, right? Which is just so ironic. But anyhow, and fully thinking that would really, you know, affect me, not really realizing that I'm well and truly beyond that phase. Like I couldn't give a rat's ass what he thinks, what he says, what he feels. You know, I don't believe anything he says. Like everything the man says is a lie. So it wouldn't matter what love song he sent me. It, in my mind, is just a lie and an act of manipulation. I didn't respond to it. Rephrase. I did respond to it. I sent him some other kind of choice anti-love songs. We'll just put it that way. But now I'm well and truly beyond that. You know, I wouldn't even bother to send him anything now. Like I just don't respond at all to anything, because nothing he says has any value at all. And I hope that you all get to this stage, because there is freedom in this. It feels just so much better. But if you're in the early stages of separation and you are still wondering what they're thinking about you and how they're feeling and blah, 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 what they're feeling is pissed off that you got away, pissed off that you're still staying away, and they've tried to get you back, and what, you just didn't come back. You know, you've actually gotten away and you're staying away. So their manipulation's not working anymore. You've, you know, outgrown them. You're waking up, and all of that is just pissing them off. It's making them madder than a cut snake. Right? So they'll be looking for other supply. If they have other supply, they'll be taking all that bullshit out on her. Like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for the new supply. With mine, you know, I could just only imagine the crap that she has to deal with his little psychotic rages. You know, so don't worry, he's not sleeping alone, and he's not suicidal, and he's not, you know, worrying about you. You know, he's chasing other women. He's probably already got one in his bed right now, and he's probably got quite a few on his phone that he's working on. Yeah, sure, he'll send you the occasional text, you know, just to make sure you don't drop off the radar too much. You know, he still wants you part of his narc harem. I mean, once you're, you know, narc property, you'll always be narc property in their mind. You know, right now he's probably thinking that you're a malfunctioning appliance, You know, they view us as an appliance, you know, something that gives them fuel. So right now you're malfunctioning, and he's probably hoping that you'll snap out of that, so that the next time he tries to hoover you up, you'll be more responsive. That's probably what he's thinking. And just remember, you know, every time you do speak to them, every time they do hoover you and you do speak to them or give them what they want or do something for them, they are laughing at you for being such a sucker. You know, that you're just so weak that they can treat you like crap and you still take phone calls from them. You know, they gloat over that stuff. That stuff makes them feel like King Kong. You know, imagine that they, you know, they did so much damage and you still talk to them. You know, you still jump through hoops trying to please them. They really do. They get off on that. That makes them feel really, really powerful and almighty and like the complete and utter narcissist that they are. So please remember that the next time you do take a phone call, or the next time you do reply to a text message, or the next time you hoover yourself by saying, you know, oh, are you okay, or whatever. Right, you have to remember, this is not, you know, these are not your normal individuals. These are pathologically unwell individuals who will only ever damage you. I mean, they will destroy you if you give them the chance. They will take everything they can take from you until there is nothing left. And don't think for 1 minute that your years of service and your loyalty and your lust and love and adoration and everything that you gave them, don't think for 1 minute that any of that means anything to a narcissist, because it really, really doesn't, right? They can meet someone, you know, 2 days ago, for example, and they can have the same kind of connection that they have with you, and you've been like a loyal, dutiful wife for 20 years. And that's just the way they are. It is just the way they are. Okay. So, if you're worrying about the narcissist, and if you're thinking, you know, oh, does he still love me? He never loved you, right? Get that through your head. This was never about love. They do a good love act. It's a great performance. All that was to do was to get you hooked on them, to get you pumping out fuel left, right, and center. And for them to maintain or get control and maintain control. So once you realize that, once you realize it was all fake, it's so much easier to walk away from it. Because, you know, in my situation, 15 years, I mean, I was one of the most loyal and dutiful wives you could ever imagine, you know, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't until 2 days after I had kicked him out and he hooked up with someone else that I'd had around in my house and all the rest of it, and he confirmed everything that I suspected. And so, you know, the cognitive dissonance that my brain went through, having these two complete and utter opposing beliefs and viewpoints, you know, one that he was my soulmate and we were happily married and had been for 15 years and blah, blah, blah. And the other, that he's a psychopath and that he has no loyalty to anyone but himself, and that he picked up with someone else 2 days after we broke up. You know, those two kind of opposing thoughts, it's hard to reconcile that. But over time, it's, you know, time is a healer. Time and distance has allowed me to look at my situation and to realize that, yes, everything I suspected about him is true. He is a liar, he's a manipulator, he's a cheat, he's violent, abusive, you know, everything that that I justified, all of the excuses that I made up for him or that I let him get away with, you know, I've stopped all of that now. I don't make up excuses for him anymore. You know, he and I, we're through. It never existed. If I could get our marriage annulled, I would, you know, because in my eyes, it was never real. And as I said, I hope that you all get to this stage for those of you who are pining over your ex, you need to realize none of it was real. It was all just fake. I'm sorry to tell you, but the sooner you get that through your head, the sooner you're going to heal. And one day you will look back and realize that, you know, breaking up from them was the best thing that you ever did. All right, my darlings. Good luck with everything. Get narc free and stay narc free. That's my advice to you. All right. Good night, dolls.